Hi, this is Erica, and I'm the founder of Perfect Legal Video. I'm very excited to have with us today Attorney Nicole Reeves Lavallee. She owns a family and real estate firm out in the Worcester, Massachusetts area, and she and her team are fantastic. We're very lucky to have her with us every week, and we are going to be discussing professionalism today and professional courtesies and what the heck is wrong with people. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, just like talking about this topic, leading up to starting the video, we got into so many tangents about how crazy people act when they're supposed to be professionals. So I don't know if there's anything left to say. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so let's talk about it. I mean, we all expect a certain amount of professional decorum out there, especially with what you do, but you see a lot of attorneys and people in the field that just don't cut the mustard when it comes to professionalism.
Absolutely. And I think it's really, it depends. There's obviously, you have the professionalism between attorneys and the court, you have professionalism between the client and the attorneys, and you have professionalism of everybody inside the courthouse, as well as, what do you do outside the courthouse? So there's a lot of different types that it comes into play. And the reality is, you have to constantly maintain your professionalism. And I'm saying I'm saying every single one of us, anyone that's watching this, needs to maintain that. Because again, you as a client, if you don't maintain professionalism and you get up there and you start rolling your eyes because your ex is saying something that's completely false, the judge is going to see that. And then there's going to be an impact and there's going to be ramifications to that. Or better yet, the judge is talking to you and you roll your eyes at the judge. Now you could be in even bigger trouble, and I've seen that happen too. So again, it's everything, and it's not just professionalism in the way you look and the way you dress. It's the way you sound. It's again how you carry yourself when you're in that courtroom and you're going. And even if you're sitting in the gallery and that's happening, the judge is seeing this stuff. Everyone's seeing this. So you really have to maintain that throughout everything that you do. I mean, obviously, you should do that throughout all of your life. And I get that sometimes it's very emotional, but there are ramifications about each of these actions. And what I really want to focus on right now is the professionalism or lack thereof between the attorneys. That seems to be a thing that keeps growing, or lack thereof keeps growing. And people don't understand that you're going to need to return a favor to that attorney. So if you give them crap, you're going to get it back at tenfold. And they're not going to be receptive to helping you out. So those are the types of things that really come up to play.
You know, it's interesting because I went through a divorce and you were my attorney. And I just remember at the time, everything was so new when you first start going to court. You've got pre-trials, you're trying to negotiate things ahead of time. And quite honestly, like I really did separate my feelings in court and my feelings about the divorce from my how I was as a parent and co-parenting and that sort of thing at the time. And when I went to court, I just felt like a wreck inside. And I couldn't believe what a pro you were because you just went up and talked to his lawyer and you guys seemed completely friendly and professional. And I did not feel any of those things, but I was very happy that I had you because you were able to go and do that. And even with talking to the judge, things were being said back and forth, and they do it to get at you, a lot of it. And you told me how to act in court. Do not make faces, do not say, don't be emotional as much as you can. And you sounded like, nothing was wrong at all. This is just another day for you. And it is. And that's why it's great to have a professional attorney that acts mature and can act mature when you're feeling completely emotionally a mess. And you know, a lot of attorneys when they get divorced, they have their own divorce attorney because it's not easy when you're going through it yourself to also represent yourself because that's an emotional time.
Absolutely. And I think, the biggest thing is, you'll have the clients that come up to me afterwards and go, Nicole, why are you being so friendly to that attorney? Like you just said in your scenario. I'm being friendly with them because you're not going to fight with them. There's a time and a place to be adversarial. I can zealously represent and still be a nice human being. And I think that's where the difference lies. Again, I don't have to be a jerk. I can go in there and I can absolutely zealously represent you and say, their numbers are completely false and this didn't happen and we object to this, this, and this, and still get my point across without saying, hey, you're in my face, I'm going to kill you. Like, that's not solving any problems. And so my job is to go, look, I know, Sam, that you're telling me that your client has never abused the child. But I also have these bruises and I also have DCF supporting the case. So let's come up with a resolution that's going to work for everyone. And so you'll have that conversation, and it's just setting the facts up because I'm going to show this to the judge. I don't really care if you don't believe it. You can make your argument. You can say that the child fell off the bike. Go ahead and make that argument. And then the judge is going to look at the documents, listen to the testimony, and the judge is going to make a determination. But that's where I'm going to show you what I have. I'm going to tell you what I have. You're going to tell me what you have. We know what the weaknesses are. We may never admit the weaknesses to you, but we're going to go back to our client and we're going to say, hey, look, Erica, sorry, hate to tell you this, but they've got a really strong case and I really think you need to settle that. But that's the reason why you have that professionalism, so that I can get that intel, I can get that information, I can know exactly how strong or how weak our case is based off that conversation. So it does pay to be respectful and professional at all times.
And there's no reasons for the attorneys to fight. I mean, you see that on TV, but that's not what real life is like. And I mean, one of the things we talked about before we started the interview was just the favors. So, a lot of times attorneys can't make it to court and, oh, can we move this? And look, things get moved around all the time. But then there's strategy involved where sometimes they say, well, no, you can't move it. But now, a few months later, they need you to move something. Like, what? Like the strategy behind being an ass. Like, what do you think about that? Do you see that a lot where people are using strategy, but then they want favors from you?
I do. And it's funny because, you as an attorney get to know that attorney's going to pull something. They're going to do this. So you as an attorney is getting a reputation for that. I don't know whether the attorneys don't recognize it or not, but I can walk in the courthouse and go, that attorney's going to be a bully. That attorney's going to walk all over you. That attorney will work with you, whatever you want. And you know that. You know that this person's going to give you the same professional courtesy back, or this person is going to be a jackass. So a lot of times when you're dealing with that, you already have an assumption of this is how it's going to happen. Now, obviously, sometimes you're dealing with somebody out of county or some other situation, or it's a new attorney and you don't really know because you've never dealt with them. So those are the ones that you go, I'm going to give you the favor and pray that it comes back and you're actually going to be the courtesy back. You only get to burn me once. Because after you do it once, guess what? I'm going to have your number. I'm going to call you out on it and I'm going to bring it up. And guess what? When I do that, I'm also going to bring it up to the court. This person wanted a continuance on this date. I granted it. I asked for the same courtesy, professional courtesy. They didn't give it to me. Now I've just told the judge, you're a jerk. And that's going to carry some weight.
The other thing about you and your office is that you really do go by the rules. And it's not even about doing what the other side is doing. So if someone's not giving you paperwork that you need, and it's a strategy, and a lot of people that tend to be the money makers, that's one of the strategies they tell you, just don't give them the information. And then they won't have the real number and the child support will be lower, and you don't have to pay it all out. Well, when that happens, one would think, hey, well, then I don't have to give them my information. But that's not how you roll. You want to talk a little bit about like just having integrity and not playing that game and how it makes you look better to the judge and just being a decent human being in life.
And I think that's exactly it. I think, the problem is a lot of times my clients are like, but Nicole, and I'm like, yep, you don't like it, then you don't need me as your attorney. I'm doing my job. The court will always say it's not a tit for tat. Same scenario is you don't pay to see your children. I'm not pay. He's not paying child support, so he doesn't get to see the kids. How many times have I heard that? How many times the judge has found you in contempt of court because you failed to give the kids? Every single time, because you don't pay to see the children. The same thing applies with discovery. You don't, two wrongs don't make a right. They don't. And at the end of the day, you still have an obligation. You're under the same rules that they are. When I go back and say, we complied, and we complied within the timely fashion, and here I am waiting, weeks and months, and I still haven't gotten a response, again, the judge is going to go, well, wait a minute, counsel. And a lot of times it's counsel. You're the plaintiff. You're the moving party on this. Why haven't you produced these records? It is even more so important when the plaintiff is the one that won't give me the documents. And I just had that case, and the judge said, you know what? I'm going to exclude them from presenting any evidence at trial. They're the moving party. How do you win a case when you can't present any documents? And that's the reason why we don't play the tit for tat game, because we have the leverage if we're doing everything right. They can't come back on us and say, you didn't do it, so we don't have to do it. No, 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 no. Do your job. I know you don't like it. I know you're hating me at the moment and you're swearing at me. I get it. But at the end of the day, we need to do that so that we can support our position, and we have a better position at trial when all of a sudden we're not going, oh, we're going to surprise the other side. Because guess what? Contrary to TV, we don't have surprises in the courtroom. There's no smoking gun. There's no, hey, and here's the document that supports our position 100%. It doesn't exist. The only place it exists is in TV world. And we don't live in the TV world. So we need to do this for you and for your case.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense because the judge is there to judge not only the case, but judge the people, find a fair solution for everyone. And if people are playing games, how are they able to make decisions that are fair for everyone if they don't have the right information and they're dealing with babies basically in the court? And I've seen it in the court where you're waiting for your case to go up and a client might act like an idiot. But usually, hopefully, the person that has an attorney has told them how to act. So if you see someone up there representing themselves and they're sighing and rolling their eyes and screaming at the other person while they're talking and getting kicked out of court, I mean, those are the things that can happen if you don't have the right counsel and you don't have someone that can guide you on how to act, because not everybody goes to court. A lot of times it's your first time going to court. I mean, are a lot of people surprised when you give them the rundown?
I think a lot of people are definitely surprised. And I think the biggest thing is they really also go, wait a minute, we get to sit in the courtroom and listen to everyone else's case? They get to listen to ours? I think that's the most eye-opening for people. I'm like, yeah, you don't have a private case. There's nothing to warrant it. But why? Don't worry, they don't care about your case. The only people that might care about your case is an attorney listening in. They go, oh, I'd love to see how the judge rules. And that's what we do. And then we'll go back to that attorney and go, hey, remember that case you had where blah, blah, blah? What was the decision? Because we want to know, because we have a similar case with that judge, and our facts are really close, or this is really interesting. I really need to know how, what the thought process is. So as attorneys, we're very interested. I can guarantee you no one else in the gallery gives a damn about your case, other than maybe your family members that are with you. But again, going back to, I've seen judges stop hearings. I've seen judges change custody. I've seen judges throw people out of the courtroom because of their lack of professionalism. So there's huge ramifications. And if you don't think that the court is writing down that note saying what happened during that hearing, and they're not knowing exactly who you are when you come back and you've got a black mark against you, you're wrong. They do. They know that. They might not remember all those cases, but the ones that are difficult, the ones that are having problems, they absolutely remember it. And you absolutely will have a harder time going forward with that judge.
So, are there any other instances that you had on your mind today to discuss? I mean, I'm sure there's a million. You'll probably talk about this for a week. But usually when we talk about things, you've got some pretty specific things going on in your practice, and it's uh, it's something that we talk about, and we end up having really good conversations.
I think that there's absolutely a lot of things. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, again, you have to attend a four-way meeting. When you're attending that four-way meeting, why does your lack of professionalism stop? I mean, yes, I will let my clients or the parties kind of argue and talk about it in heated discussion. I'm not going to let them get out of control. I'm not going to let everyone get overly emotional, but I'll let them have that discussion because a lot of times they need to be heard. I don't care if nobody's listening. I need to be heard. And so, again, that's a great motivation for most people to go, okay, now that they said that, I got that off my chest. Now I'm willing to give some more. And sometimes it goes both ways. Sometimes it's, hey, look, oh my God, I didn't believe I actually did that to her. And I really hurt her. I can understand now why she's so angry. And they might give a little bit more. So again, I think a little bit of that has to happen, the unprofessionalism, if you will, during a four-way meeting. But again, it's to sit down and to try to go over things and to negotiate things. It's going in with an expectation that I'm never going to get everything I want. And you shouldn't. I mean, there's no slam dunks ever. The slam dunk is when the two of you agree and we put it down to writing. That's the slam dunk. Otherwise, it's not. Both of you are going to lose something. The question is, what can you lose? What can you afford to get rid of? What is not that important to you? And those are the things that you need to focus on. And again, I think that's going back to knowing your strategy beforehand, telling your attorney beforehand, this is the most important thing to me. This is what I really am looking for. This is what I would willing to settle for. Have that candid conversation. So again, we can have those meetings. I've had them outside the courthouse. I've had them in the courthouse the morning of, where we couldn't resolve it beforehand and we're still there and we're doing it. But again, the moment you start getting too unprofessional or too out of control, the other party's going to go, see, I told you she was a jerk. And now they shut down. We'll go to trial. I'll see you in court. Great. I'm so glad you didn't settle anything. You need to understand that they're feeding off of you. And so when you start doing really bad things or you start pushing their buttons, they're going to push back because they're done with the situation. There's a reason why you're in court. They are done with the situation. So when you start pushing those buttons, it's going to come back against you.
Well, this has been a really good discussion on professionalism, and shocking that we even have to have it, or that these situations go on even between attorneys. Uh, but, you know, that is the fact. And so it's good to know a little more about how to handle it. Um, so with me saying that, I'm like, how do you handle it when you see the unprofessional nature of some of these people in court? How do you get them to start acting the way that they should?
That's a great question. The simple fact of the matter is, hopefully, you're standing right next to them and you can, I like to put my hand on their hand. Go, we'll deal with it. Shh, we'll get to it. Okay, I'll take care of it. And that's really what I'm saying is just hold on, time and place. Let me do my job. I know why you're so upset. I get it. But time and place. That's obviously if we're in front of the judge. Sometimes I kick you because, the judge can't see that and you need to stop it. So those are kind of my things behind the scenes. But, certainly, again, it all depends on where it's happening. I'm going to pull you aside and go, come here. And I will talk to you like you're a dog now. Get over here. I need to talk to you. And that's because I'm trying to draw your attention because you're so hyper focused on the situation and this is what's going on that again, I'm trying to focus, focus. And that's the way, we get people to focus. Me short of me hitting you, which is not going to happen. So I get you focused. I get you come over here. Let's go in the bathroom. Obviously, if you're the same sex as me, let's go in the bathroom and chat where they're going to hang outside and they don't know what we're talking about. Let's go find a conference room. Let's do something else. Let's go and, go to another part of the courthouse. So it's those types of things that I'm going to distract you. Kind of like you do with any toddler, if you will, where, shiny objects, focus on something else so I can get your attention, so I can tell you what you're doing wrong. And so many times I'll see that I'm going, why did you say that to the judge? And then I'll tell them afterwards and they're like, oh, I'm like, do you think I'm talking to hear myself talk? I'm telling you this because I know how the judge is reacting. A simple thing of my kid. I mean, we've talked about it a million times. It's my kid, my child. Really? Because it always takes two. So the reality is when you start saying things like that, the judge has turned off listening to you. And so we're trying to avoid that. So I try to, one, prep you in advance, two, try to get you in such a way to tell you to knock it off if it's happening, or three, to distract you from the situation so that, again, we can diffuse it and we can come back and talk to it like, normal professional adults.
Well, thank God we have you because you are fantastic with reeling it back in when things get crazy. And things do get crazy. This is family court. I mean, it's not even always necessarily a divorce. You've got people in there that work together and have children, and people are really upset about religious choices or, like that birthday party. My mom gets to go to that birthday party, but you hate that mom. And I'm like, there's just a lot of situations where people get crazy and it's a button they're pushing. And that's why it's good to have you and your team. And I have to give a shout out to you guys because you're fantastic. You guys work great together. You come up with great strategies. And, as we're talking about today, you're really able to help us navigate through this legal system and a lot of procedures and situations that we are not familiar with. And thank God for that.
Absolutely. And I think, it's the biggest thing is when people focus. I get that you don't do this every day, and I do. But, when I go to a different courthouse, I'm always like, oh, I'm not really sure where to go. I'm not sure, where to stand because it's different courtrooms have different procedures. And so I can feel that anxiety. I understand that anxiety because, again, one, I was a new attorney, and two, I've gone to different courthouses where I've had that exact situation. But I think that's the biggest thing is, you go in there with the confidence of knowing that the person standing beside you does this every day. They understand the situation. They can, look at it, gauge it, and judge it for what it's worth.
And that is really great advice and great information today. I want to thank you so much for your kindness and coming on here and helping everybody know more about what happens in family court and you get a lot of great information about real estate as well, because it is murky water for a lot of us that don't deal with it every day. And you really save us a lot of money by giving us information so that we don't have to pay the stupid tax. So really appreciate you, Nicole. Thank you so much for coming on today.